Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our August council meeting. First item, adoption of the agenda. Is there any new items?
Madam Mayor, administration has no additions to the agenda.
Okay. Anybody else? Could I have someone move the agenda, please? Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Carried. I would like to welcome Sandra Friesen Peters here to give a presentation by the Stepping Stones Day Home or Daycare Society. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, good evening, Mayor McAteer and council members, and thank you for your time tonight. As you already said, my name is Sandra Friesen Peters, and I work for Supports to Early Learning and Child Care Programs. It's a contract held by Stepping Stones Daycare Society in Grand Prairie, and I'm one of 6 regional consultants in the Northwest region. So tonight we would like to have a presentation on licensed family child care in high level, and with us tonight we have Kim Gervais, Director of Northern Alberta Community Delivery Branch from the Government of Alberta, and Nikki DeBlanco from Child Development Day Homes in Edmonton. And I think Kim is going to speak to us about licensed care, and Nikki's going to speak to us about her the grant that she has received and how that could benefit our community.
Welcome, ladies. We can only see one.
Nikki.
Nikki.
Yeah.
Welcome to the council meeting.
Is Kim with us?
Is
Okay. Okay, well maybe it's just Nikki tonight.
okay. Yes, we can.
A little bit about me. I've known Sandra for a number of years in a number of different capacities, but I am the executive director of Child Development Day Homes, and we have an agency, family day home agency in Edmonton and in Fort McMurray. And I've been the executive director in Edmonton since 2004 and in Fort McMurray since 2008. And the Child Development Day Homes as an agency has been in operation since 1990. So, and a couple other hats that I wear in that I also have are the current chair of the Association of Early Childhood Educators of Alberta. And I'm also in the midst of trying to complete a PhD at the University of Toronto in childcare policy. So, one of the experiences that I would just like to tell you a little bit about is in 2008, a licensing officer in Fort McMurray contacted me in Edmonton and asked if I would be willing to apply for a grant that they had available at the time. I think the title of the grant was called Making Spaces, and or Creating Spaces or something like that. And so, and the reason they asked us to come to the community was because there was a lot of private childcare providers, and they felt that they needed some support to give those people an option to join an agency and have the support of an agency and support the community that way. So we applied for the grant from the government of Alberta at the time. We went up to Fort McMurray. I got to know the good people there, and we started with 0 homes, and today we have over 50 day homes in the area and support over 300 children in Fort McMurray. So, and then to give you a bit of context as well, in Edmonton, we have about 140 day homes and close to 600 children in care in Edmonton. So, and so I just letting you know that a little bit, just because we've had that experience where we've come to try to support a community before, when they were trying to deal with some issues regarding licensed childcare. So, and then Sandra had mentioned that there is another grant that I applied for and was awarded this year. And so this was called Creating Childcare Capacity, I think, Building Childcare Capacity. And so I applied for it for Fort McMurray and area, and just because there's still a need to create more spaces in that area, and then also to the smaller outlying communities there. And one of the main goals of the grant was to look at areas that had what they call childcare deserts. And childcare deserts are areas in the province where there's little to none licensed childcare available for families. And so when I started chatting with Sandra about the what's happening in High Level, and that would be considered a childcare desert, I went back and asked the grants people for children's services from the government, and asked if we would be able to spend some of the money from our grant in the High Level area. And I did get approval for that a couple of weeks ago. So if that's something that the town of High Level is interested in, I can certainly support some of that startup funding for there. And when I say startup funding, I mean like hiring somebody from the town to become a day home visitor, help the town apply for a contract, develop a program plan, and those. Some of this stuff might just seem really abstract right now, but it's it's the world that I live in. So we could help do that. And then there's also some funding that would be available to the day home providers themselves if they wanted to join an agency. And so that funding would help them like with toys, equipment, materials, and education courses, post-secondary coursework, if they were interested in that. Also like advertising and promotion and things like that. So that was just a really quick summary of what like where I'm coming from and what I have available. I guess there's a couple of reasons why I think that it's important to have licensed childcare in the community as an option for families. And, just really basic, if I can just throw a couple things out there, is support for families to access subsidy funding. And so support for their help pay their childcare fees. And that actually was just increased. The province just announced last week that they're increasing that up to an income threshold of 91 combined family income of up to 91,000. Some families will have access to some subsidy to help with their fees. And that's only available for licensed childcare. Childcare providers, whether they work in a day home or a childcare facility, they have access to wage enhancement funding. And so they get an hourly top up for every hour that they provide childcare. And then there's also federal funding that's going to become available as well. And so if, I think it would be really great for the community to access some of that funds, and which the federal government is hoping to bring childcare fees down to $10 a day for coming up to 2026. So those are just some basics around why I think it would be nice to have licensed childcare as an option for your community. So I'll just leave it at that and see if you have any other questions, or Sandra, if you wanted to supplement any of what I just said there.
No, I think it was fine. I think we can.
Thank you, Council. You have questions? Yes, Councillor Jessamine.
There was a comment made about if people with day homes wanted to join the agency. What does that mean? Is it your agency? So that's a private agency, correct?
Oh, okay, so maybe so what our ask would be for you is that the town of High Level actually apply for a contract with the government, like with Children's Services, to actually have a family day home agency contract. And so, and through that contract is where you would get that funding that I was talking. That's how you apply for subsidy for those families that are in need. There's administration fees that you're eligible for, and that's what that's something that we can definitely help with, is to apply for that, the program plan that needs to be done, and recruiting like a staff member or something like that.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Any other questions? Yes.
So is the appropriate vehicle for this the municipality, or would it be some organization within the community? Or does it have?
Sorry. There is, I think it's a really great opportunity for the community, especially one thing we've, some of my work through the association, I've heard from families that move to small communities. They're often, childcare is part of the package, right? They're like looking for like where, if they have school age children, they're like, okay, what schools are available for my children? If they have younger children, they're looking for, what kind of childcare options are available to me. And so, I mean, if the town had the capacity to do that, there are other towns in Alberta that do take on this responsibility. And it works really well because of, I guess, like what I saying that package, but also like with promotion and advertising and that type of operation. I think the town, you already have a one license that you use, I think, for camps or out of school care or something like that. So I don't think, I think it's something that is already somewhat familiar to the town or to the staff, is my understanding.
Yes, we operate the after-school care through FCSS. Any other questions? No? Yes.
Well, in the documentation that was talking about there'd be funds available to hire a person to come into the office here within the town and would get things up and running, like advertising, visiting the schools. So how long would that last? I can't remember that funding.
As long as the grant.
Yeah, so the grant is only until March 2022. And so there would be funds available for to pay for a staff until that time. And it's not, I don't think it would be a full-time staff member, because as I understand, there's probably a capacity for, about 5 to 10 possible day homes. And so typically my staff monitor, close to 25 day homes in a caseload. So I'm thinking it would be like a part-time FTE, or combined with some other type of position.
And Sandra, your job, would you come alongside of us and assist
Yes.
and advise?
That's correct, yeah. So that is what I do for all licensed programs north of Maddie, is I come alongside and I provide supports in whatever way those programs need supports.
Question.
Councillor Welke.
Thank you. From my understanding, there would be this grant and support to get things up and rolling. As time goes on, there would be, due to staffing, there would be an expense, but it would be hoped that the benefits of the program justify that in terms of attraction and retention of people to your town and just providing that service? Is that right? Like ongoing, there would be cost implication in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we run a larger agency, and I don't know if what we'd have to look at that together. We have a combination of parent fees and government funding. So with a contract, you have access to a small admin fee, but it certainly helps. That comes from the province for the number of children that for each child that you have registered with your agency, you get an administration fee. I mean, it's certainly not enough to, cover a whole staff person's salary, but then there's parent fees, and then depending on, fee subsidies and other, there's different incentives that the government has. There's like infant care incentives of $150 a month, things like that. So it's patching all of those things together. And, but yeah, I mean, we'd have to see how many daycare providers would be, or day home providers would be interested, how many family, you know what I mean? And like, those are the kinds of things that I can help with over the next few months. And we could come up with a budget of what we think is available, what's the potential for that. I think there probably would be a cost to the town in the long term, but depending on how many children and how many people you had providers registered with the agency, then it would be paying somewhat for itself that way.
And this agency created, would we then be part of like a bigger group with some sort of consultative support ongoing, or is this a kind of a one-off training and then you're fully independent and on your own?
No, I think my understanding was that Nikki would continue to provide support as needed.
Like
She's
you're
willing to
part
stay
of
on after the grant.
Our agency would be part of a bigger.
Well, there is an Alberta Family Day Home agency, isn't there? Yes. So
Well, Association of Alberta Family Child Care Association, which we are members of as well. But I mean, also from what, from just over the last couple of months while I've been learning, there seems to be a lot of like community champions, like childcare champions within your community. Sandra definitely is one of them. So there's a lot of capacity, I think, already within the community. And while our grant is available or the grant that I have is available till the end of March, I certainly would be interested in the long-term sustainability of those spaces. So would be, would do whatever I can to provide support post grant.
So Nikki, I think another thing maybe to consider is that $30 billion over the next 5 years, that federal money that Alberta hasn't established how that's going to be used, or how they haven't signed on. So I mean, I think we're hoping potential. I think what we're really hoping is there'll be operating funding for programs. I think that's really what we're pushing for, is that there'll be some supply side funding.
So, just so I understand, we're going to be more of an administrative group. We're not going to be running these programs. The day homes run the programs. We go visit them, I don't know, once a week or whatever it is, and we're responsible for some administrative fees. So,
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
looking for programming or any of those other types of things, just registering day homes and doing some administration.
Well, there is some responsibilities that do come with the contract and the license. But the idea is that the staff person that you would have to do those visits would be the ones, like you would be building capacity within that person to, help with training, safety, things like that kind of thing. And it sounds like there are people in your community that, have that, have that capacity already.
That is not part of a municipality's scope of doing things on a very limited budget. It's kind of scary when you say, well, there might be some costs. We would kind of likely want to know what those costs are, because if we hire someone, we have to do all the steps that everybody else in the town goes through. It's a big responsibility. I was under the impression that we would run it through our FCSS, we have people trained there, it'd be just a little bit more administration work, and maybe going to visit homes.
Yeah,
Yes?
and that home visitor is the one that has the that expertise in childcare. That's the person that is doing the problem solving, investigating any complaints, things like that. So that would be the job description of them. And I agree. I think that's something that we would have to work on together, is to look at the budget and see if there would be any long-term costs and what those exactly would be. But yeah, I mean, that's what there's funding that comes in different ways. And so it's putting those things together.
Things scare me because we got into a domestic violence sort of thing. We had a great domestic violence program, and then boom, the government said, pay for it yourself. So we need to know what costs are coming at us before we can make an informed decision about it.
Do you know?
Yeah, and so then that would be something we could work with. I think we've sort of been working with a couple of staff, or just had a couple of preliminary meetings with them, around, what salaries are and things like that. So, but we can certainly do more work on that and bring it back. I think we're planning to be in the community at the end of August as well for a presentation. So that might be another opportunity.
Councillor Jessamine.
Are you aware of or know of any partnerships within the communities where, up here we have industry that is, mentioned it and talked about it in the past about doing something and we're unable to do it. Are you aware of any partnerships with municipalities and industry where they work together on a venture?
I was aware that the industry had put together a report before about the need for licensed childcare in the community, and there are examples in other towns where where it's a high industry base where they do receive support. Certainly in Fort McMurray, we have received different support over the years from industry there.
Okay, thank you.
I think Drayton Valley has one too, don't they?
Yeah, Drayton Valley, Jasper, and I can't remember the others right now.
And I think Manny potentially
Really?
is looking at some, I think that's sort of in the works.
With the industry?
Yeah, with industry.
All right, is there any more questions? All right, thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks. Thanks, Nikki.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
All right, approval of minutes. Any spelling mistakes? Could I have someone approve them then? Councillor Morgan, all in favor? Carried. It was a long weekend, so I never sent my report. On July 7th, I attended July 1st, I attended Canada Day. July 7th, we started to have our SETI meeting, but due to, what do you call that?
Lack of form.
No. So I love the way Sandra put it last time, something about conflicts in people's schedule. We were not able to have a meeting. On July 7th, we met to discuss childcare situation high level. July 7th, the Golden Rain Society had their first meeting since the COVID lockdown. They've been holding a very successful garage sale, which started July 23rd, and they've extended it to the end of the month, I think. And pie days, potlucks, birthday cake days will begin in August, not July. The airport task force met and discussed all the information from the prep work that, thanks to the prep work committee, we were able to go over. And I read in our minutes that Forestry was going to provide 2 picnic tables, but we only got 1.
We gotta get the site prepped before we bring in the other one.
July 27th, we met with Minister Madhu. July 27th, we also met with Minister Chandra. Was everybody that were you there? Oh, I can't remember who wasn't there. July 29th, we met with Minister Panda, Associate Minister Fur, who is Red Tape Reduction Minister, Associate Minister Nally, who is Natural Gas and Electricity. Just so you're aware, councils, I think it's $700,000 that was put into the provincial building to redo the venting system as well as the elevator. And we talked about the lack of lawn maintenance, which coincidentally, the day we arrived there, they said that they were going to start mowing grass again. So we should see them mowing down their grass on all all provincial sites, including out at the airport.
It was done.
It was done? I didn't see the town.
Not the back.
No. So they said every 10 days they will be doing that. I did attend, between this, I attended a meeting at the Summer Caucus, which was talking about a pledge that they want us all to take. It's a voluntary commitment, but of course they would like us to take it to promote fair and transparent meetings and things, which we have been doing for the past year. They talked about getting rid of the code of conduct, if you can believe it, and how, the AUMA talked about how it can be improved. Municipalities put their concerns forward about how the code of conduct has actually created a safe working environment for some municipalities. Then we talked about how they're going to redesign MSI into LGFF. We're not sure what anything is going to look like yet, but they're promising to have it by AUMA Fall Convention. And then Clark and I met with Wayne Lewis of West Fraser to discuss some possible sponsorship for the multi-purpose facility. And that's my report. Any questions? Could I have someone move? Thank you. Councillor Welke. All in favor? Carried. Deputy Mayor.
On July 7th, attended the same city working group meeting as the mayor, or the attempted meeting, I guess. And July 27th, the council meeting with Minister Chandra.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
So July 26th, I attended the High Level Transportation Society meeting. That's the first one they've had since COVID. The handy van is running in this kind of the same capacity where you have to book it through the hospital. They are definitely looking for more drivers, so if anybody is interested in the community, there's a number that they can get a hold of to get the documents that are required. July 27th, I also met with Minister Chandro, and July 29th, I met with the Ministers Panda, Fry, and McNally.
I saw the handy van out and about today. Thank you. Councillor Jessamine.
July 27th, I was in the meeting with Minister Shandro, and the 29th with Minister Panda and his group, as well as on July 31st was at the grand opening at the Little Red River gas station in Fort Lee.
So was there a big gathering?
There was a nice gathering, yes, and presented the picture that was given on behalf of the town. So yes, there was a great gathering, lots of young families, a number of local people throughout the community, so it was very well attended. I thought it went off really well.
Thank you, Sandra, for purchasing that picture on short notice.
I have to give credit to our amazing salesman, Jamie.
Jamie.
They appreciate it and want to return those thanks and hanging it up so we'll be able to go there and see it somewhere.
That's good. Did you win the quad?
No, I did not.
Forgot. Thank you. All right, thank you for attending that and making kind words on our behalf. Councillor Morgan.
July 1st, I attended the Canada Day activities in town high level. July 7th, we had an IMPC meeting where we approved the water connection for the resident on the North Water Line. And July 27th, I attended the meeting with Minister Shandro, and that's all I did in July.
Thank you. Councillor Welke.
July 12th, I attended an FASD Society meeting, excuse me, just a regular board meeting. July 27th, I also attended with council the meeting with Minister Shandro. And on the 29th as well, with council, the meeting with Minister Panda, Associate Minister for and Nelly as well.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Could I have someone move reports? Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Carried. The action list. Could I have someone move that if there's no questions? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I have a couple. One is the rodeo grounds. Wondering whether the town is now finished with their commitments and whether that's complete.
Madam Mayor, at the last I talked with Director Straw, there was some, I think there was seeding to finish up, but that was a couple of weeks ago, so I believe we're really close to finishing it up, but I'm sure there's a report on that at the next meeting.
That's your question? Okay.
That was going to be my question as well. Now that they've held their first event, they're thinking that we're likely done. Or hoping we are.
We were really close. It was just the seeding on that general open area that was left.
We should be close, Jack. He spent like 20 days there, 24 hours a day getting it ready.
Quick question on that.
Yes.
Was the grass all put in, or it's not growing yet, or?
That's what I'll have to ask Director Straw.
All right.
They,
I heard it was pretty muddy, but
yeah. They had intended to put the grass in late spring, but they missed a couple of windows with the rain. So I can't, I'm not exactly certain of the status of that. But that should be our last commitment to the site.
All right. Somebody want to move? Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Carried. Capital status report? Yes.
Has the new pay rating machine arrived yet?
The 12th of August. It has been awaiting parts from the US, but it has been built and is supposed to be on the road right now.
Okay.
Parts already?
No, to complete it. Yeah, the just-in-time manufacturing.
It's like the end
Yeah,
of.
this isn't the ice surfacer.
Yeah.
Come with batteries?
This
So-
one is powered on, so.
I guess my only question once again, are we going to remove county funding out of this so I can tell where we're getting the money from?
Madam Mayor, I didn't go in and update the capital status report for this meeting, but I will definitely make sure it's corrected for the next meeting under the funding sources.
Okay, thank you.
Between vacation and other things, this hasn't been updated to the point it actually is. at this
I
point
can
in
see
time.
that. Any other questions? Could I have someone move it then, please? Councillor Morgan, all in favor? Thank you. The ice surfacer.
Madam Mayor, Director Rolfe will present the report on that.
Good evening, your worship and council. You can see smiles already. So I had brought a report back in July requesting some funds for the current ice resurfacer, which is an angle, because we were having ongoing issues with the battery. Council had asked me to look into some other options. So I presented some different options. The first one is to repair the angle. And I should bring up at this point that through all this last month, with making inquiries and everything, I had heard through the grapevine that Joe Johnson was no longer the distributor for Ango, and I did have it confirmed. They had given me a contact in Italy that I've been dealing with for the last 2 weeks, and when I looked on their website and I didn't see the Ango there anymore, and I had previously, I inquired, and he said they'll officially be sending me who the new contact will be, I think sometime this week. So I am hoping that maybe with the new distributor we might see some changes, or we might not. I'll have no idea. So that's one option. The other option I looked at is renting. And we've rented before from Big Hill Services. In fact, prior to the angle, we had Olympia ice resurfacers, and we had dealt with Big Hill for over 20 years. So we've got a pretty good relationship with them. They have a variety of used propane and electric ice resurfacers that they'll rent out, and they rent anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 per month, depending on what year it is and that sort of thing. They're all completely redone. They work fine, and they look after everything for the time that you have it. So that is actually a viable option. There is a fund price per kilometer to get it here and get it back, which adds on to the cost as well. So we'd be looking at, for a whole season, anywhere from $16,000 to $20,000 each year. Now the original angle was around, I think if you went back to before we took off the amount for our trade-in, it was about $160,000. Right now an electric ice resurfacer is about $170, $180, propane's about $150 to $160. So just to give you an idea, usually you put them in for a lifetime of about 10 years. So just want to let you know that, so I wasn't sure if that was. So that's one option. The other option would be to rent for a period of time, like up until December. We could have in our capital plan for a new ice resurfacer. We'd be looking at that for 2022 or 2023 if we wanted to rent longer. There is grants out now for electric ice resurfacers, and I do have to say that is the way that everyone's going, is with electric. I think what would be good is, first of all, we'd have to put an expression of interest into this grant. It would take a bit before we'd be pre-approved, so it'd be good to have some time. I'd like to see what some of the other municipalities are doing. Like there's, I know Town of Slave Lake got this grant. They just got a new ice resurfacer. They'll be starting it up any time now. It'd be nice to see how that one works. I forget which brand there is, but there's Zambonia and Olympia that both have ice resurfacers.
Electric?
Electric, yeah. So that is an option, just throwing that out there. But I think that was something we would do more research on and come back to council with, as to what's actually working really well in the field. The other thing we could do is look at just purchasing a used ice resurfacer. So the ones they'd be renting us would run, if we purchased them, from $15,000 to $56,000. So if you're paying $20,000 a year, in a couple of years you've spent that. So that might be another option as well. So I'm suggesting that for now we increase the budget in operations from operational surplus to get us to December to rent one. And then we'll come back with a plan, either capital or council gives me direction if you'd like me to look at for the entire year, or.
So you're thinking that it's the Engo, the name, whatever, it's the lemon of all the electric, or is it all electric?
No, I wouldn't say it's all electric. I would say that particular one is very specialized, and its maintenance might be quite a bit past where we may have had the capacity. They've run electric ice resurfacers several different ways, like without the hydraulics, run on separate motors, so they have longer use of the batteries. There's a lot of different things they've looked at. So I think I'd like to investigate that more to see which ice resurfaces have been very successful, because some of them are doing 2 rigs, so they're doing quite well. And some have gone to lithium batteries. That's not necessarily apparently the end all either, so some are using the same battery system as we have. So I think there's still a lot to look at, but they have been successful. Some arenas are getting, the municipalities are getting for the second time, but they've had one for like 8 years, and they're
Northern?
they were larger centers, like in Calgary and Edmonton, so. And that's the one thing you'd want to make sure of what your service is. That's, I think in anything we do, we have to be cognizant of that, because if it takes 16 hours round trip to service.
So council, what's your wish? Yes, Jan?
Saw me with your peripheral vision.
I know, I got it.
So if we go with a new machine, and you've stated here the trading value of the Engo is negligible, like is there any value, could we sell it for parts to some city arena that's using them or something?
I'm hoping that maybe with a new distributor, there might be a change, but right now, when I asked one of the companies, they just shook their head, like nobody, there's other municipalities that are trying to download their Engos.
And you're actually having to speak with the companies in Italy?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I've been for the last 2 weeks, yeah.
And so it sounds like there's a possibility of still finding something out in that regard. So do you think this renting for this short period then buys us that little bit of time for that one last stab at figuring out what to do with our current machine?
Well, that was my thought process, is that, something miraculous may happen. I kind of have my doubts, but something may. But definitely, I don't think we want to count on the Engo right now. I have the batteries being shipped back this week, so we'll have everything all put back together. But we haven't really changed anything. We changed 3 cells of the batteries, but like everything else is staying the same. We haven't changed connections or anything else. So I guess for me to promise you that that's going to run faithfully really well, I don't feel confident in doing that because we haven't made any other changes. So, but I would hope that if we get a new distributor and they want to stand up to our original warranties, that maybe we might get, say, new batteries free, or something might happen to increase the, also the ability of service, because who knows who it is, right? I can't really speak to it when I don't know who the distributor might be.
But if we did rent one from somebody else, some of that rental money might go towards, say, the purchase, but then ideally if somebody that was dealing with Engo, but we could choose other brands to maybe rent a different product, but then if our Engo, but they're gonna be separated, these. If we rent from a different company, it's probably then done.
Right, we would be renting from a different company.
Yeah.
Engo doesn't have any rentals, they never had. If we rent from Big Hill, they have said whether we purchase a used one or a new one, they would at least put half of our rental fee,
Right.
whatever we rent, towards a new one, so.
So when he said everybody, well, not everybody, but other municipalities are trying to download their Engos, did he happen to mention that they have the same problems as us?
It sounded very similar, yes.
Yes.
My position is the same. I don't think we spend another dime on this machine. I'm in favor of doing a short-term rental while you come up with alternatives to consider in next year's capital budget.
Yes.
I agree with Boyd, and I'm wondering if we do have luck and this thing fires up and runs, could we use it as a backup instead of throwing it away or giving it away. If it continued to operate decently, we have the outdoor rink in there that we could potentially use it on. There's be shame to get rid of it.
But do we have the capacity to store
It
2
would have to be stored indoors.
ice surfaces?
Well, we'd have to be storing one in operations, because that one has to be stored indoors. But we might also have the capacity, if we bought a new one and we put it out to tender, part of the tender can be that we get money back for our current one. That's pretty common, so whoever bid on it would be taking what we have.
So,
By inflating the prices.
Smoke and mirrors,
yeah,
yeah.
but it makes you feel good a little bit.
It's the net result that's important.
I just hate to get rid of it if it's operating. I mean, we're not gonna get, well, anyway, that's down the road.
Do you want it for your backyard?
No, I don't want it at all.
I think we did a big hole and buried it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I agree with the councillors, but I think we really need to seriously look at not getting electric, because we've had nothing but problems with electric. And
Well, that's something administration, hopefully by December, will have searched out.
But surely warranty work on Olympia or Zamboni would be more reliable.
Probably.
They are North
maybe,
American.
but the trustworthiness of these electric machines so far hasn't lived up to what they were built as, so. Propane has
In
never
general.
failed us.
Yeah.
Propane will qualify for the $50,000
Yeah,
grant.
yeah.
I'm okay with that. Because they've just inflated the price of the electric machines $50,000 to take that into account.
I bet you in the
You're
West
such a
example,
cynic.
probably would
My
expect-
son,
But I would be in favor of putting in the application for the grant.
Yeah. If we get 50,000 and,
We spend it on an electric machine, we'll be in the same place we are 5 years from now.
I don't think we'll be getting batteries from Italy and
You're probably right.
all right, so is council okay with renting until December and administration coming back with something for a new budget year? All in favor?
and the application for the grant.
Oh, do you want that as a separate motion? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Sandra?
That's up to council.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, can we put it as a separate motion?
I would make 2 motions.
Okay. Are you making both motions? Sure. So the first motion to rent, all in favor? Second motion to put in a grant application for electric Zamboni. All in favor? Carried. Yeah.
The electric ice surface.
When you abstain, you're in favor.
I would hope that these batteries improve substantially, being that most vehicles by 2025 will all be electric anyhow, so
Oh, yeah, right. Well, if you're an optimist. Who told me they were in Vancouver and all the vehicles are electric? Well, not all of them, but there's a number of Teslas that are. Was that you?
Yeah.
I don't think that'll ever happen here. All right, 13.1, pre-budget planning date selection.
Madam Mayor, the doodle will come back. Those are the dates everybody's able to make it. We're going to miss one of the senior administration at that time. So it's our request to council to set that as the dates of the pre-budget strategic planning session.
Someone make that motion, please. Councillor Morgan, all in favor? Carried. The Intermunicipal Planning Committee Policies and Procedures.
Madam Mayor, Ms. Gavin has a request on that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Evening. You look
Sorry?
like you're up in Yellowknife.
Pretending to be. Your last meeting, the Intermunicipal Planning Commission requested that a change was made to their policies and procedures to allow for an ability to waive quorum. So the current quorum for the IMPC consists of 4 members, 2 members from each municipality, 2 from the town and 2 from the county. The county currently has 2 council members and 1 public member at large, and the town has 2 council members, and a member at large is vacant and has been for quite some time. So we've added in a little amendment here. So in the quorum section of policies and procedures, adding 4.2, that quorum may be waived when at least 1 councillor from each municipality is present, and that they both agree the decision at hand warrants the ability to waive quorum to ensure that decisions are made in a timely manner. So at the moment, until we get a new RSSA agreement, as Mike mentioned earlier, Councillor Morgan in his report, that the connections to the waterline are decided upon by the IMPC. So try and ensure that those types of decisions are made in a timely manner. The request to waive quorum was asked. So the resolution here is pending Mackenzie County Council approving this at their next regular meeting, which is on the 18th of August.
Questions?
Are alternatives 1 and 2 exactly the same?
There's only one word change. In number 1, it's as presented, and in number 2, it's as amended. So if council wanted to remove it being council members and public being a public member or any member, that's up to you as council.
You guys sitting on there, what do you feel?
Well, I have a bit of a question here, is that if we go to this amended version or presented version or whatever, where only 1 council member needs to be there from both sides, could conceivably it roll out to be where at any meeting you would only have those 2 people making those decisions? And if that's the case, does that then become a bit of a conflict, or could become a conflict?
It's
Personally,
certainly possible.
go ahead.
I was going to say it's certainly possible. I mean, we've put in here that both agree. So I guess if they always agreed to waive quorum, then it does open it up for that possibility. But we would hope that wouldn't occur.
In my personal opinion, I think with something as important as the IMPC, to waive quorum where it's binding on the council is not the best.
The example I will give you is the water line we just approved. Councillor Anderson was unable to make it. So we should have canceled the meeting and tried to reschedule it again.
That would be my personal opinion. I mean, you have set meetings, so,
We don't have set.
No.
well, you should have set meetings.
We only have meetings when something comes up that goes into that needs to be reviewed by the IMPC. So we may go 6 months without reviewing anything.
Yes,
Did I miss something, or that they would make decisions on all proposals, like important ones as well? I thought it was just minor decision making.
what's minor and what's major?
Well, that's, or maybe I'm just asking to be correct, maybe I'm wrong there. I thought I read it or misunderstood.
That's the intent of it, that, you know, if it was, you know, a relatively minor decision, for example, a connection to the water line where we have lots of room to add new users. So there's a review in place if we have 50 connections, and I believe we have 29 or 30 now. So having another residential connection would be a minor decision. If it was a much larger development decision, then this, you would expect one of the parties wouldn't agree to waive quorum. And I guess that's why we've worded it this way, that one from each would be present and both must agree that the decision at hand, warrants the ability to waive. So maybe it's too, what's the word I want to use, arbitrary or loose in its language. Like if council wants to come up with an amendment to make it a bit more straightforward, so that we know when it can be used and when it can't.
Yes, Councillor Wilkie.
Couldn't some types of decisions in this committee be administered by e-vote?
Sorry, I missed that question.
Couldn't some decisions in this committee, could they be administered by e-voting? Like, do you have to have a meeting for a minor thing? You could still have everybody respond.
The way that the policies and procedures and the agreement is written, they must meet to decide.
So would it not be better for the chair or who's ever administrating it to send out a doodle poll in if you only meet every 6 months?
Well, we meet when it's needed.
When it's needed.
Well, couldn't you send out a poll for when it's needed?
Then,
I really don't like getting into waiving quorum. Because I might show up to the meeting and think it's simple, but yes.
I'm very confident in council's representatives that, when you're dealing with a minor issue, that they know what the decision of council is going to be, and to, waive quorum because there's 3 rather than 4 for a water connection. I don't believe either one of our councillors that are on there, if there was an application for a huge subdivision that was going to do this, that,
Yeah.
they're not going to waive quorum. They're probably not going to agree to anything before bringing it back to council. So I'm prepared to move the recommendation.
I do too.
Dan?
I'm okay with that, with recommendation number 1.
Okay. So, all in favor? Those not? I'm not worried about our councillors, but obviously you haven't been on Boreal Housing.
Both of them have to agree upon it, right?
That's right. Everyone's going to agree.
Not if they're not there.
Well, if I'm,
If one of them's not there, one of the other's gonna waive quorum.
if I'm, as the chair, if I'm not there and Brent's not there, we can't even have a meeting.
No kidding. But I mean, if you guys are, one of you's there,
If I'm there and it's a
and Brent's
massive
not, and you
subdivision,
say waive.
I'm
Well,
not
it's settled
gonna-
anyways. There's no sense debating it. 13.3.
Madam Mayor, before we move on to the next item, we just want to inform yourself and council that we've lost our stream.
What?
Yeah, we're having some internet difficulties.
Severe storm.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, we lost our stream. You're no longer live. So we will post this meeting in its entirety on the website tomorrow, but when you sign off, maybe you can just explain that. I apologize.
Okay.
I think we have too many viewers.
We crashed the server.
Probably a lightning strike.
Yeah, there's lightning storms.
Lots of storms going on right
Okay, 13.3 is the licensed childcare in the town of High Level.
Madam Mayor, Director Wolf will address that issue.
So we had a presentation. It's too bad Kim Gervais wasn't there, but we do have the opportunity to work with Nikki from Child Development Day Homes. The grant, the portion of the grant that has been approved for High Level is around 130,000, if I remember rightly, which would take us till March. There is, Sandra didn't go into it, but she had, she does think that there is some people that would be qualified that are currently living in High Level. We don't know for sure, of course, right? But that would be interested in part-time that have other like day home types of things going on that may be suitable for this position. There's no guarantees, of course. I think the big thing is with the funds being finishing at the end of March and that we've applied to be the licensing agency is sustainability. Like I think one of the things we've struggled with over the years is making sure the programs we run are sustainable. So I don't necessarily see that that's the town's responsibility. I think we could help with it, but if we could look towards possibly industries or something to provide like a sustainability contract, like not specifically saying, you know, you do this or you do that, but like a portion of funding, whatever it is, 25, 50,000 per year to have daycare, licensed daycare as a sustainable option might be one way of going forward. The other thing too is for our unlicensed stay homes, there are some basic regulations, but one thing that we aren't currently doing is we don't require a business license for day homes. And that might be another way of the town just kind of tracking what's happening out there, where the day homes are and that sort of thing. I'm not necessarily saying that's the way to go. Some municipalities have done that. And we do have, throwing a lot of things out at once, we do have that information session planned for August 24th. Kim Gervais will be there, so they're going to be discussing, they're hoping the parents will come to day homes, that kind of thing, whoever's interested, and kind of run a panel session with Kim Gervais. She's the Director of Child and Family Services, talking about the licensing, and then Nikki would be there as well, and Sandra, so they're going to be here all in person. So I think that's a good opportunity as well, too, to provide more information to the unlicensed day homes and interested parents. And of course council and that sort of thing too. So I guess I'm going to suggest is that we're going to take this on ourselves. We were just going to hold the sessions and show people what is going on, like why they should be licensed. I hadn't realized that they had this funding here too, so I thought it is an opportunity, so I thought I'll bring it to council, so because they've worked in the background and come up with something solid here. Here's an opportunity to move forward and see if we can start licensing some of the day homes, and that does offer some options for parents to have subsidy themselves, and there's more and more, and I know it seems like a pie in the sky, but the federal government has released a lot of, they know there's been issues in childcare for years and years and years. They have made a commitment, they're starting to make changes. We just don't know what the province is going to do just yet, like for Alberta. So there is lots of things. If we're not licensed, we're not eligible for anything. So. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that maybe if the parent or the people that want to have day homes understood, like you have a chance to put all this through on your income tax, you have a chance to get wage subsidies, you have a chance to get child subsidy, like more parents have a chance to get child subsidy rates, none of which is available. That's correct. But their numbers would be regulated. Well, it doesn't matter if they're licensed or unlicensed, it's still sick. That's right, yeah. And a lot of that too is like fire regulations and the safety of children too. Yeah. So the licensing can be positive. There's nothing wrong with unregulated day homes too. You know, the ground that wants to look after a couple of babies, that sort of thing. They're not saying that you shouldn't have unregulated. They're just saying that there's more options, and the licensing does provide. And you're open for license. You're open to get all kinds of other. So I thought we would provide the information to everybody, not hire somebody for a half a year or 6 months or whatever, but just run the information through us. Like, I don't think we should go out and hire. I don't think it's our mandate to do childcare. I don't know.
I think it is. I think in our situation, this community is growing. There's a lot of young families coming in here and nobody's moving forward to do it. I think families are important to everybody in this community, and they are what helps make this community go. They're younger and younger all the time. And I hear in my office alone a number of younger staff that are struggling with it. So I think it's important. I don't think it's going to take off if we don't step up and take it and run with it. So I'd like to make the motion that we approve administration to work with move forward with the funding.
Yeah.
So did I hear you correctly that you said the grant funding that's available between now and the end of March is 103,000?
130, yeah, that's what I understand. Is that what you remember?
Yeah. Which our portion is half of that?
That's what's for this project. So there's money available for, they calculated how many day homes they think we have, and that's like helping them with materials and supplies and furniture, 2,000 each for education, like it's for, so each day home can be brought up too. So, and to pay for that consultant to work till till March. So,
But how much of that budget is for staffing?
40,000 or 45,000, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So it was like from now, a part-time position from now until March. I think it was about 48,000.
Do you have capacity within FCSS to do that?
Well, if we're just the licensing, we have someone that's doing all the work, we can oversee it. Our current development manager oversees the licensing for our after-school program. There's a lot of specifics we have to follow with that. So it is there if we have that other person. If we don't have the capacity, we don't have the ability to hire that person, and we're left still holding the license, it would be a struggle. Same as we struggle with our after-school program, if we don't have those people trained, it's always...
So that person would be responsible for training day home people as well.
Working with them, they would be going through the college and taking the courses to get to.
And going to their homes to make sure they're...
They would be checking on them, yeah, they absolutely, that's part of the regulatory.
So my question to her, and she didn't really answer it, is there no one else in the community that could make this application, be the license holder? I think this is a great idea, but I don't want to be at next year's budget going, yeah, we now need to budget 96,000 for a staff person to run this. Like if 48,000 is the wage expectation for 6 months, I just think it's a slippery slope.
Terry?
I mean, it's a good question, but I look at the agencies and groups in this town now, they struggle to, like I look at our high-level policing side, they're struggling to get people to be on the board to run it. We have 4 members that we staff, and we're on the verge of not continuing on. I don't know how we could ask another group to step up and take this on. I think it would be very difficult.
I sit on the fence, but I look at both sides, and I agree with you, but I also agree with you because where in there does it say that the town is responsible for providing childcare, which means the taxpayers of this community are going to have to pay for that person $90,000, $100,000. Do we have the capacity in our budget to do that?
And I think the people of this town would be willing to pay for a great service like that,
Pay how?
pay through taxes.
You really think so?
We have other services that we
They
have
hate
possible-
paying for
we
the
have-
pool and
we
the
have
sidewalks and...
We have the policing services, we have a number of other services that.
But you don't think people would be upset when you put childcare in there? When we have...
There would be some, just like there is with anything that we would fund in town. But I think a majority of people know young families or are part of young families that would support it. That's just, and I think your comment, Ruth, about looking at partners within the industry, I think there'd be great opportunity there. Again, I think the mills were nervous, now this is just me, that they didn't want to get involved and take on responsibilities either, but I think there'd be opportunity there. If there was an agency looking after the administration and the housing and that, but they were to provide funding, that would be easy peasy for them. That's just me.
But it's just not the mills, it's other people that should come forward too. Like the people in your office, if they want services like that. Like funding, if you're saying going out and getting funding for it. Like why should Toco and Norbord pay for
Because
it,
they're
but not the
employees.
hospital or the...
Their young
Brooklyn
families
School
help
Division.
run the mill for them. That's why they
And
thought
they
it was
teach here
important.
too, and they're nurses here, and they're...
But the governments run those. The governments provide nurses and teachers. They don't provide daycare for the community. The government doesn't support daycare in this community. There's no facility. They provide a hospital. They provide schools. So, yeah,
So we should provide daycare for their kids?
I'm saying in this situation, I'm not to support this venture. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that the industry, like Toco and West Fraser, may be interested in supporting it.
So just to put this in perspective, you will have the domestic violence or victim services, all of that in policing,
Right.
All of those were funded by the government. Yeah, they were great programs. Now you're left holding the bag and trying to fundraise to keep these positions here. That's exactly what's going to happen with this.
We still receive funding. They're changing the look of it as we go forward. I don't know what the end result will be,
But they provided us funding for 4 years, and then they said, okay, go find your own funding. How do you find funding for domestic violence? It's not like you can sell cookies or...
yeah, there is, I'm not going to get it. There is funding for certain parts of it.
Jan?
I'm on board with Councillor Jessamine. I think it's an excellent opportunity to explore participating in this area that's such a high need. And I don't see a problem with the municipality getting involved. I think we're worried that we're going to be left completely holding a big financial burden, but I think that we should just participate in this, and we can have the same discussion in March to determine if, I don't think there's a point of no return where we're committed then to an expensive program moving forward. We can make a decision later on, correct me if I'm wrong, about the sustainability of this in March after we've explored and utilized that funding to set something up and see if we can pull this off and participate. Maybe it'll be a whole lot easier than we're making it out to be. It might be a part-time hours within the capacity of our staff already with the town, and it it might run itself with the the professionals and the people that are running the day homes anyways. We're not running the day homes, so we're just overseeing the agency.
We're the licensing agency, yeah, and I think some of the concern why they wouldn't give you the exact amount of funds that would be available from the government, because if we only licensed one day home, then we would only have the fees for one day home and those parents. That really wouldn't sustain a part-time person. If we licensed all our day homes, it probably is fairly sustainable within itself or close to. So that's why Nikki kind of said until she's actually working on it and see what the appetite is, it could be that, as she had suggested, like after the August 24th meeting, we might have a better idea, see if people are open to this once they see the benefits of it. So,
Well, with a formal program and agency, then yeah, maybe we have 20 day homes come forward that want to be licensed, and then that just increases the funding anyways. And our administrative costs wouldn't necessarily scale. Our funding sources, like the contributions, would scale, but I don't think. They said that a person, well, it would be full-time. A full-time person could oversee.
30 day homes. So once it gets over a certain number, you'd have to be full-time.
No, I think it's excellent, and I think if we didn't do it, we'd be continually discussing this problem. This is a good way to look at dealing with it.
Mike, I haven't heard from you.
So the last time we explored this,
I'm glad you're saying this, not me.
The last time we looked at this and we explored this, if the town was to become the licensing agent for day homes in the town of High Level, if the day home provider was unable, because of sickness, illness, whatever, to provide the childcare for that particular day, the town of High Level was now on the hook for finding daycare providers to look after those kids who were supposed to go to that licensed day home. And that was a major concern to us, because now we have to find spaces for up to 6 children to either come to the town and have daycare services provided for them, or we had to slot them into other licensed day homes that had services. And that was a major concern to us, because that basically put us having a full-time person managing all of that. That's part of the reason why the mills didn't get into this, because we can make 2x4s, we don't do daycare. So if we are going to take this on, we have to accept that we are now going to be having to look at providing daycare services. Yes, absolutely.
I disagree, she didn't mention that. I didn't see anywhere in the documentation that said that.
That's in the TOCO documentation.
But wouldn't we find
That's what they did when they did that whole thing.
Okay, well, it wasn't in this presentation,
Why,
so
why
unless
would you
somebody.
put that in there if you're trying to convince somebody to take this on? You paint the best picture possible and you don't cover off on the negatives.
I don't understand why we would be responsible.
Because
They
we're the
are
licensing agents.
individual licensed entities on their own, has nothing to do with the town and how they run it. We oversee them, but I don't see where people would expect the town then to cover off.
If they had to shut down their agency, they shut down their agency.
So what we need to
Not
do,
the agency, sorry, it's a day home. If they shut down their
Day home.
licensed day home, they shut down their licensed day home.
and what happens to those 6 kids that are
The
there?
parents have to pick them up, same as an unregulated one does right now.
Yeah.
If the day home provider is sick, they call the parents and say, I'm so sorry, I'm sick. I
Okay,
can't
you
take
know,
your
maybe
kids."
we should do some more research instead of just getting it from the government, because there are shady characters in there too. When I first heard this program, I thought Sandra was going to be looking after. But there is a program in Drayton Valley. I would figure out the pros and cons of that program.
Yeah, I can talk to other municipalities.
Or,
that are
and
licensed
Fort
holders.
McMurray, and whomever we can find. Because it is in the TOCO report, that was one of the things that turned them off from, and if you guys haven't read the report, Clark has a copy, could you please send it to everybody? They did this whole big project and then backed out of it. So, I mean, we need to provide both sides of the story, I guess is what I'm saying. And they're coming up in August 29th, and we can ask all those questions then.
Agreed. Has anything, is this a brand new initiative from the top down, or is this just reworking the same stuff
No.
that's in, no? Okay.
It's not new, it's just that nobody up here is licensed and they want everybody to become licensed.
Yeah. Well, I agree, if we were on the hook for those kind of things, then yes. But it's, yeah, it's funding that I think we could figure that out.
Brent?
I like the idea of having licensed day homes and daycare available to the younger people here with families that can't do it, but I do not believe the town should be the one that carries this liability. And I think we're lacking a good part of the information here. And I think we need to get that information, and one of them is, like Mike says, like Councilor Morgan says, we need to know whether the town would be on hook if that daycare licensed facility shut down, and would the kids just be picked up and gone home for that day or 2 days or a week or whatever so happened to be, or is the town on the hook to supply or find places for those children to go? Because that becomes a big liability to the town.
And are we liable if something happens to a child in that home?
My understanding is each day home has to have their own insurance, and that's one of the things you work on with them, with getting them licensed.
Is there a difference between insurance and liability?
Insurance covers your life.
So I think we just need to get substantial more information on what this actually involves, and not just, like the mayor says, we're getting one side of it and maybe not all the documentation within that one side.
So what are the full responsibilities of the agency?
Mm-hmm.
Of the license holder.
Well, both. As us, if we're the agency, what are our responsibilities?
And I could come back after we have this August 24th session too, which council can go to as well. And there's also the meeting with the Minister of Children's Services too coming up. So they may be able to provide you with more direct information on what the funding might look like coming down too. So for the province.
What do you think of it?
Are we being filmed?
Yes,
No, we're not.
you are being filmed.
Oh, yeah, you are.
I'm open to whatever council
Okay.
decides.
Good answer.
I mean, you know, it's always a capacity issue whenever you're taking on anything extra, right? So we do have some expertise in this field because we do carry the one license, but that license is very different from being a licensing agency. Although they said we have one, it's like, you know, we're like a licensed after-school program. That's a lot different than being a licensing agency. So, if council feels this is a good way to go. I certainly think there's a real need in the community.
There is.
I'm a little concerned that we have this huge multi-purpose facility that's going to really help with recruitment, and then people get in here and there's nowhere for their kids for childcare. I think is a bit of an issue too. So I think we need to, whether we're advocate or whatever the case may be, definitely there's a need in our community as to how we assist with that.
So are we promoting this information session that we're having? Have we started?
Not yet. I was going to after this meeting, so I had Kim Gervais send me specific information. We were going to make up posters, but I said to her, let's wait till after the meeting in case council decided that they didn't want to have information meeting or didn't want to go forward. I didn't want to arbitrarily.
You made a motion. Do you want to amend it to table this till after the 24th?
Well, yeah. I thought the motion was to work with them, and this is your recommendation, correct? So that was my motion, was to go with the recommendation.
Your recommendation was to support this.
Request, please.
What was the actual motion?
The actual motion is to approve administration to work with Child Development Day Homes, providing office space and assisting in licensing day homes in high level, and furthermore work on sustainability of this program and provide options for the upcoming 2022 budget. And furthermore work with Child and Family Services on an information session to be held in town.
So would you like to amend that and table it until after the 24th
Sure.
meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
So, right here it says benefits to parents, and it says access to backup care provider is sick or on vacation.
Oh, yeah, what does that mean?
That means the
That
town
means
funds
who's
spot
going
for
to
the
be-
kids.
Yeah, it seems we need more info. I just find that hard to imagine. That would be like if I shut down my pharmacy, the Alberta College of Pharmacy doesn't have to come up here and fill everybody's prescriptions. Like you can't, I would like to explore it because it just seems unreasonable to put the agency on the hook for literally taking care of kids.
What she's saying, Fort McMurray, they have 300 children. I can't believe that Fort McMurray would take on the responsibility
Yeah.
that they could have to manage 300 kids.
But that's interesting that it's in there that they would be, they have access to backup care.
Well, that's a question we can ask Fort McMurray.
Okay, but she didn't say that Fort McMurray was the licensing agency. She said they had the program, but she didn't say who the license holder was.
The license holder was the company she works for, the early childhood.
So maybe.
Yeah,
So why can't she be the license holder here?
that could be a possibility too. They would have to have a consultant here that would, so, I mean, to have one in Fort McMurray, maybe that's an option too.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, like how did Fort McMurray go about this? We need to know that. Okay, so we'll table, what's the next meeting?
August 30th.
Pardon me?
August 30th.
To August 30th? All in favor? Carried. Oh, by the way, that was Terry's, Councillor Chestnut amendment. Okay, so the next one is the grants in place of taxes, write-off.
Madam Mayor, Director Phillips will address that issue.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. On May 10th, regular council meeting, council approved the write-off of the 5 uncollectible tax rolls, totaling $22,562.57. At that time, we were still anticipating payment for the remaining 6 outstanding tax rolls, and as anticipated, the province paid 50% of the outstanding taxes in July, so we do have a write-off, administration has a write-off request of $8,256.67 to authorize that write-off, and it's anticipated for the 2021 tax year as well as a 50% payable amount. So we're looking at a $30,000 decrease for our GPOT taxes.
30,000.
Yeah, this 2020 year we wrote off, well, it will be about $30,000. And going into 2021, they're anticipating the same 50% payable.
Someone want to make that motion? Or do you want to fight the government?
In one of the AUMA information things that came out, there was a municipality down south that wouldn't agree to this. Although I think it came back and they had no choice, but they were trying to take a political stand. This is just, like, I don't know where it ends.
I think their stance on it is this is a grant to us and it's not a tax that they owe, it's not a levy, is how I think their argument was in one of the articles that I read.
But they're getting the benefit of every other taxpayer, so it doesn't matter what they want to call it, it's taxes.
What they told Boreal Housing, because we had 65 houses and they told us, okay, do you want to pay the maintenance or do you want to get the grants in lieu? That was their argument to us, and we thought, crap, we'll take the hit on the grants in lieu. Because the maintenance far outweighs the grants in lieu.
We're not obligated to cover provincial facilities. It's not the same.
We're a creature of the provincial government. They're like our big daddy, they tell us what to do. We can fight it, but, I mean, it's gonna come back to the same. They won't back down. What do you wanna do? Yes?
Make a motion that council authorize the write-off amount of $8,000 for provincial amendment grants in place of taxes.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
That motion fails.
Yeah. Look at me, my mouth is open.
That's all right,
So-
it stays as an intellectual law class.
So we're writing a letter to the government and saying that we're not paying this. Yes, you are.
No, we don't pay the government.
What?
If we're not prepared to
Or we're not
accept the
prepared
reduction.
to do this.
Actually, it may
That
lead
won't
into the
just-
next discussion, Madam Mayor, on 14.1.
And the deputy mayor will sign that letter.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Is that your motion? Or do you just want to sit on it?
It just stays as an intellectual.
It just stays as uncollectible.
Yeah, but why are we going to be passive about it? If we don't want to pay it, we should be telling them why. Or
This isn't what we're
No,
paying,
this
this is
is
what we're
a
collecting, what
reminder.
they're
Well-
writing us.
what we're not getting.
Yes.
So do you want to be passive or do you want to tell them that we're not doing it or we won't collect it?
I think our options are limited.
Two collections.
Can we impound their properties for unpaid taxes and put them up for auction?
They're not taxes though.
Just creating more work that is unneeded.
It just stays as an uncollectible, that's all.
You gotta carry it forward and manage it.
I would prefer to write a letter and let them know we're taking a stance.
Mayor, can make a motion?
Okay, that will be my motion then. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because you are the mayor.
Okay, well, this is a question we're taking to Minister MacGyver when he's here.
Yeah, well, actually, yes, he will be here next
Are you going to be here?
mid-month.
I had no idea the minister was coming.
Well, he sent an email. Didn't you send an email to everybody?
No, I just responded to the one that came to the two of us.
Um,
They need to confirm the date and then we'll get
It's the
everything
10th.
out. Yeah,
They're going to be here on the 10th for a barbecue you promised them.
and Schultz, and Minister Schultz will be here on the 11th, yeah.
Do I get a hot dog this time? There was a barbecue the other day and I couldn't get a hot dog.
I'll be,
What time is it?
11:45.
no letter, just having that conversation.
Do you want me to give you some?
Well, we can put together a quick briefing note on
Yeah.
what it's cost the town and grants and place of taxes. We can-
Minister MacGyver and Horner are gonna be here on the 10th,
Yeah,
not the 11th, at 12:45.
11:45.
12:45. You must have got a different email than me then. From
And
12:45 to 1:45.
And there's Minister Schultz who's here on the 11th.
Yeah, but these guys are here for the barbecue. And MacGyver's the one we would want to talk to about not paying for grants in lieu.
So,
Who's cooking the barbecue?
so Madam Mayor,
Obviously, the grants don't cover the taxes.
Madam Mayor, what we'll do is we'll put together a briefing note presentation to the minister on what the decrease in grants and place of taxes has cost the town of Howell. The one on social housing was much more than it has been on the province side, but at the same time, this is costing the taxpayer, I believe it's well over $100,000 a year now.
So no motion for a briefing, no?
Sandra, you're cooking the burgers.
I'll be visiting my new grandbaby.
A barbecue with you?
She'll be on your hip while you're cooking burgers.
I'll be cooking burgers at 11.
I will find burgers for yourselves.
Okay. I don't know if we need a vote. The administration's just going to put a briefing note together. Okay, so correspondence for action, AUMA Fall Convention.
Madam Mayor, the AUMA Fall Convention is November 17th to the 19th. That follows the municipal election, which of course leaves some uncertainty because we know there will be a new councillor or councillors on. And our question is, would the council like us to book for each councillor position for the fall convention? And also, in addition to the Minister of Municipal Affairs, would you like us to try to book meetings with any other ministers?
That's a difficult decision, since we don't know who's going to be here.
Yeah. Well, it's easy. It's probably easier to book 7 rooms and 7 places at the convention and then cancel, rather than trying to get somebody in at the last minute.
Yeah, but to book with ministers, maybe, I mean, if Minister MacGyver's coming here, will we have anything different to say to him when he's in September or November?
You might piss off that you don't want to see his anyhow.
No, we're not going to be confrontational, I guess. We're just going to show him what it's costing the town.
I suggest that we register 7 for the AUMA and register with every minister that may be in attendance.
Yeah, the topics, they don't need the topics until September.
We've only got the invitation to register with MacGyver, though, haven't we?
Yeah, but what that does is give us the ability to, if anyone else writes in, says, hey, the minister's going to be at AUMA, then we can book a meeting at that time.
Okay, the K Division's always there, and
We're not talking to Keith.
Is this AUMA meeting in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you at the
You
last
going,
one?
Brent?
You were at one, weren't you?
You're going this year, Brent?
I've been on every one, so how about
Are you going
Terry?
this year?
Eh? How about Terry? Is he going to attend?
depends on the election.
Are you going pending election? Jan, have you ever been to one?
No, I would,
It's highly recommended.
I
that
would
you-
love to go, should I still be here at that time.
For new members of council, usually that first AUMA conference and the RMA conference are usually both very good. There's lots of information, a lot of orientation type stuff.
And it's planned to be in person, which would be nice.
I think there's going to be an in-person as well as a virtual component to it. But it's always best to be there, so you get to meet people and. All right, all in favor of that motion? Carried. Book us all into the Edmonton Hotel, Park Plaza. should we all be here.
We can change names. We've had to give fake.
But if people aren't going to use them, let's don't be in the same position we were in Calgary where we had to pay for them.
Calgary is the one that keeps the money.
But I think Edmonton may if we don't cancel them as well.
Yeah, they now require 2 days, but they have in the past reversed. They've had given us our money back, but it's Calgary that just said no.
Okay, so is there anything on correspondence 15.1 to 15.9? If not, could I have someone move to?
I'll move for information.
Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Carried. You guys have to go take a moment. 5 minutes? Okay, 10.
Did you want to sign off the public part, so
Oh, yes.
when they watch?
This ends our public portion of the meeting. We will now be going into in-camera. So thank you for attending this evening. Could I have someone move us into in-camera, please? Councillor Morgan, all in favor? Carried.